From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie-PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We're having the crucial conversations that Erie needs, and I'm glad to welcome to our microphones Donna Reese. She has been in Erie politics for many, many years, and we're glad to have her here to talk about her lived experience and the plight of political violence in our midst. Donna, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
I want to give folks to hear your origin story. Where did you grow up? Where'd you go to school and all that stuff? You know.
I was born right here I lived at 7th and Cherry as a little kid. My father.
Lower East Side or West Side, excuse me.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my dad passed away just weeks after my 5th birthday. Oh, wow. And my mother, back in those days, you didn't have online dating, but you did have parents without partners. And she met my stepdad.
Wow.
And they married a year and a half later. So I went from downtown Erie to Northeast Farm.
Oh. Is it from a city girl to a country girl?
Yep.
Well, and a lot of course, there's love there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But a lot of that is out of necessity. How do I raise my family without a husband?
Oh, yeah. It was shock to my older siblings. I was only 6 when that happened. But, my brother was 13, 14 years old. And, and my one sister, she's the one who took the biggest hit with the transferring. And she also was a teen and did not do well.
Wow.
So, but me, I loved growing up on a farm, loved it. But I also, when it came time to decide where I was going to raise my family, I didn't do it in a little community. And it was funny because I said I didn't want to raise my sons in a little community where everyone knows your business.
Okay.
And I said, so I took them to Mill Creek where there's 700 to a class. And I said,
right.
And everyone knows our business.
They still do,
and they're
right?
like, that's your fault. But
that's funny.
So yeah, I moved to Mill Creek to raise kids, and picked it because of the school, specifically the area of my home because of the school, which a lot of people do. But I got involved with politics when I was 20 years old. 20 years old.
Yeah, tell me about...
Young Republican.
Okay.
When we really had those
Were
groups.
you in school at the time, or...?
I was going to Barron at
Okay.
the time. That was short-lived because I was not... I was just one of those people who needed to get out, and I needed to do it. I wasn't content just sitting in a classroom. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I owned my first business by 23. Wow. My second one by 28, and I had a very, very successful career. And
what kind of businesses did you start?
Well, I got married at 20 to high school. Well, not high school. We started dating outside of high school, and we got married, but we were friends forever, and we still are today. But his family owned General Exterminating, and we purchased it when we were 23, and And I got into the business with them because there was a need for it. They needed to, computerize and things that I had actually taken courses on while I was in college. So we complemented one another, and he was the technical end and I was the business end. And it worked fabulously.
I want to say that was probably the
almost
dominant
30 years.
the dominant organization of its kind at the time, right?
It still is.
Yeah.
And we are the family business. And now my son, he bought my shares when I left, and it's going stronger than ever. So
That's
4
awesome.
generations.
Fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Okay, so but what prompted the politics part, the young Republicans?
The politics part was when I started seeing how it affected my life and my paycheck. It's like not many, these kids, they go to work and they're thinking, okay, I worked 20 hours at $10. I'm going to take home $200. And then they come home with $130. And it's funny because I used to go out and go to economics classes into the high schools and explain to them what comes out of your paycheck and why. Because I can't tell you how many kids, when they get their first paycheck, they're shocked because they're never taught that. And, so it's like when I started seeing how it affected me on an everyday life, I thought and I wasn't even registered to vote. I went all in at one period. And
was there something about the Republican Party that you knew intuitively or that you learned quickly?
My senior Problems of Democracy class. It was awesome because you never knew what the teacher was.
Okay.
And we took a test, and it basically, where do you stand on issues? And then you grade it, and it tells you what you are. And it was so accurate. But I call myself a compassionate conservative because I have the compassionate side that used to align with the Democrat Party. And then I've got the conservative side for the financial side. But I'm in the middle because I like to do things, I love to be involved with charity. And anybody in Erie who knows me for many years knows that I was really involved with nonprofits and that, especially when I was healthy and in business back in the day. I loved that giving back portion. Erie Homes for Children is one of my all-time favorites. The City Mission is another. I gave back to those to those nonprofits because of the work that they do and the individuals that they serve.
No doubt about it. It's interesting, and I'm gonna push a second here because right now we have Republicans, at least at the national level, in the executive branch and in the legislative branch, and might as well say in the judicial branch. Yet our debt has never been higher. We're not making a dent on the deficit.
That frustrates me beyond belief that we ignore that, and everybody is responsible for it. I don't know how you put out budgets that you have billions more in trillions in that matter, more in expense than you do income. I don't get it.
Well, and I look at my 5 grandchildren and I say, we're being sloppy and you're going to have to pay for it.
Absolutely.
And that just gives me chills.
And you'll never hear me defend my party like lock, stock, and barrel. You won't, because there are too many of them that are as responsible as the other party. It's not a party thing. I say, number one, too many of them have been there way too long. And I am for term limits in everything. I don't know why we only have it for presidents and governors. I don't.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, because the people really running the show are the ones who've been there 40 years.
Yeah.
So, but, I am a conservative, compassionate.
You know who else was recognized George H.W. Bush?
Yes.
He said he wanted a kinder and gentler America. And it was kind of a shot on Reagan, who again, Ronaldus Magnus, who who could do no wrong, but he was looking to make his own stake. Yet they rolled him out of town on a rail as soon as he wanted to raise taxes.
Yeah,
But now he is well revered as he's passed. Isn't that an interesting thing?
it is. You look back at history and. You just don't you wonder how some of it played out as compared to today. Today is a different world. It's like I don't know. I don't think people can have a conversation like this without it being angry, and that's what I want. That's what I want to change. I love having conversations with people who have different opinions than me because, I say in the end, we might both learn something. And I don't know where that went. And everybody, it's just, you can feel how angry people are, even like in their social media posts. The anger is coming through. And it's like, if you feel that when you're typing, imagine what you feel like internally. Yeah. And I used to be that person. I used to be.
You let that go.
I did. I let it go.
All righty, Donna. We were discussing your story here and your journey, and politics has taken you've taken a different approach of politics after some of your lived experience here, and we were talking about civility and things of just having a straight conversation.
Yep.
But you haven't always experienced politics in this kind of, for lack of a better word, beanbag way. It's been hardball, hasn't it?
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. I won't deny that at all. I mean, I used to be cutthroat. I mean, number one, I have run for politics in the past. The first time I ran, I lost. I'd won in the primary, lost in the general. Okay. Then I ran overwhelmingly. Took first seat in both Republican and Democrat for the Mill Creek School Board under that big, huge mess that they had back in 2013 with the superintendent, the board, the $100 million school being, talked about without anyone. Yeah. So when I ran for that, I overwhelmingly won that first seat for both parties. They liked what I was doing, what I had to say, because for the most part, we needed more research. We needed to slow it down. We needed to stop it. And I was very, very instrumental in helping that. But, I might not have been so tactful in doing so. I just went in it with that attitude, just get it done. Mm-hmm. And I approach things differently now.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. How long were you on the school board?
I served 4 terms, and That's
8 years, right? Or
4 years.
4 years.
The first term, and ironically, there was some controversy there because I was staying at my home in Florida because I was having health issues.
Right.
And I would call in, and there was somebody on the board who didn't like that. But everything about it was legal. My homestead was here in Mill Creek. Mm-hmm. I never ever, tried to be disingenuous about any of it, and my heart was 100% in it because not only did I have my home there, but I had kids who were having kids and so on. So I had a truly vested interest in it, just like I did when I ran the first time. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't going to run for re-election because I was having health issues. But I was talked into it, and I did, and I won from Florida. Wow. So, I think I was doing a good job because otherwise I wouldn't have been elected because issues were, it was being screamed from the mountaintops that I was in Florida and I shouldn't be elected, but I was elected. And I do believe that it's because people believe I genuinely had the interest of kids and taxpayers both in mind.
And now you're mostly in Mill Creek.
I am in Mill Creek.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I sold my Florida home.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Can I ask you a little bit about Mill Creek politics? Because we kind of have fun with Mill Creek a little bit around here. You know, we just went through the Government Study Commission and all of that. And again, Mill Creek, in my opinion, Mill Creek politics is not for the faint of heart. Whether it is in the school board, whether it is with the supervisors, and now this new system that they're going to bring online. Why is it so rough and tumble in Mill Creek, you think?
I don't know.
I mean, I think it's more rough and tumble than the city.
Lot of big personalities.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm. And you know, there's a lot of people, like I used to be, that win at all cost. You know, and those personalities clash out there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've been asked to get involved with the whole Mill Creek study and that. And I actually was going to get on I was getting my petitions done, and I ended up having to be hospitalized and I couldn't get it. And, but that has since been very much worked out. Yeah. And
would you want to be on
serve on the panel?
Yeah, the panel.
I've been approached about it, and you know, I am for that panel. Okay, I definitely am, because Mill Creek is big enough that we need more like the structure of the city, where you have, you know, the mayor is the manager, and then you have the board who is listening to him, but then making the ultimate decisions.
The only thing that occurred to me is that this manager better be a superman or woman, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, because...
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to have all this ability and experience. And, of course, there are people like that. They're becoming from a smaller municipality into one of the largest municipalities in Pennsylvania.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Think about it, you know?
Yeah.
I've just got about 2 minutes before the break here. So you're saying that your approach to politics is a little different. Before we get into the major story of political violence, though, would you say that health problems, or really is this event that happened to you really a trigger of giving you more perspective?
This event changed everything. It was a game changer, because I number one, it happened at a very vulnerable time in my life, because I was recovering, recovering from a double lung transplant.
Yeah.
So
major health issue.
I was both weak in strength and just personality when this happened to me, and I sat back and I couldn't fight like the old pit bull Donna could fight.
Right.
So I had to fight in a different manner. And that manner served me so well. And I think it would serve a lot of people well if they stepped back and took a look like I did and handled situations like I handled this one.
All right, let's set the stage, because I literally have a minute and a half.
Okay.
You, at the time of this situation, what year was this again?
2024. The year.
What were you doing in politics in 2024?
I was actually hired by the Pennsylvania GOP as the election integrity director for Erie County.
Okay.
So my role was...
Did they have 67 of these or something like that? Or?
They had them all over.
All over the place,
all over. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was blessed. I didn't know the job was available. Somebody actually submitted my name for it. And that's a funny story in itself. But I took that job, and the job was number one, recruiting like poll watchers for 149 precincts, which I ended up with 225. I was very proud of those numbers. I trained them, and then when it came time for the ballots and everything to come out, I had to look at just what everything was going on. I took complaints from people and I was taking them from both Democrats and Republicans, because I'm not going to turn somebody down when they have a complaint about election integrity. But the local, like Jake Banna's office gave my phone number. I had different people in politics who would send their constituents my way for me to help them. And I was busy.
At Quickfill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quickfill, driving America.
Looking for amazing finds and incredible deals? Visit Erie City Mission Thrift today. From stylish clothes and shoes to quality furniture and home goods, you'll discover something new each time while changing lives right here in Erie. It's shopping that feels good and does good. Come see us in Erie and Girard. Erie City Mission Thrift. Thrift with a purpose.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Donna Reese is our guest. She has been in politics here for, a couple of decades.
Years.
40 years. I was going to say a couple decades, 40 years. But we're talking about a moment in 2024 where everything changed. And so, Donna, you were in election integrity in Erie County for the statewide, for the Pennsylvania GOP there.
Yes.
And what happened? Just give us a story here.
I was not 10 days into the job, and I was at home on a Friday night, and I put on my personal Facebook page that I was excited to announce that I was working with the Pennsylvania GOP as election integrity director, and I would be looking to recruit people for poll worker or poll watching jobs for election day. And I did what I have done a dozen times, and I put my home phone number on my personal page. Mm-hmm. Well, shortly thereafter, I got a text from a stranger, and she told me that she wanted to give me the heads up that my number was just posted on Reddit anonymously.
Oh, wow.
So somebody on my private page took my post, reposted it on Reddit, and said right-wing wacko. Now, this is one of my friends that, I like to think that even my friends on the left are my friends.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that really disappointed me, to say the least. And I quickly, contacted Reddit through all their means of doing that. And to this day, they have not taken the post down. But it was about 10 after 10, and I received another text. I had got a couple of them, just dumb ones. Mm-hmm. But this one wasn't dumb, and I took it very serious. It started out, the first text, I want to be a poll watcher. Well, I'm thinking Friday night, 10 o'clock, 10:10. No, they don't. So, right. From a number that was not our area
and
code.
We're not going to be able to quote most of these texts.
Oh, yeah, I cannot quote
because,
them. The first one, that I can quote. I want to be a poll watcher. That was it.
That was it. And then it was.
I ignored it, and then I had 5 more. That
evening?
Right after, one after another, over the course of about 30 minutes. And
just some of the most disgusting.
Vile. Like, too bad for a truck driver.
Yeah. Wow.
And I just sat
insulting truck drivers, right?
I sat there in awe, like, I can't believe what I just read. But they threatened to hunt me down, skin me alive, and kill me. And that was it. I didn't.
And that legally reaches all the way to harassment and yeah.
So I thought about how am I going to handle this? And I screenshot it right away. I never responded, not to one of the texts. And I thought, okay, so what do I do? And I didn't tell my husband, number one, because he would not have taken kindly to that. And he probably would have wanted to respond on my behalf. Just as a defense for me. So I nonchalantly mentioned it the next day in passing. But in the meantime, that night, I filed on the FBI website. And I sent the screenshots. Well, then when I did tell my husband, he's like, did you call anyone? Did you report them? Did you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, it's not going anywhere with the FBI. And he goes, you need to call. My great nephew is a state policeman.
Okay.
So I called him, and he said, call Mill Creek and start there, and we'll go up the chain of command. Sure. And so I did that, and Mill Creek came over and took a report, and I never did hear back from them ever. And so I kind of thought, well, nobody's going to do anything about this. And then one day, an FBI agent from Erie called me, and he said, we're gonna look into this. And in the meantime, my boss and the attorney for the PA GOP, I had shared with them, because that I had to.
Sure.
And the attorney went to, she traced the number, and it was from Philadelphia. We found the guy's name and everything, and we called the Philadelphia police on a 3-way call, and they said she has to drive to Philly to put the report in. And the attorney's like, you got to be kidding me. And so she drew up paperwork, and she marched it right into City Hall on Monday morning to the DA in Philadelphia, and nothing happened. That was before I heard from the FBI.
Okay.
So I kind of was like, nobody's going to do anything about this. And then that's when weeks later, the FBI contacted me and said, I'm going to escalate this to Pittsburgh field office. And I ended up with the best FBI agent you could ever imagine. He was wonderful. He without telling me too much, he calmed my nerves, and he said, we will be handling this. And because I worked for a campaign, that is what got it the charges that it did.
So was it a federal case at that point?
Federal case, yep.
Because it was surrounding an election issue.
A federal election.
Yes,
Because
wow.
because I was election integrity director for the Trump force.
Oh my goodness.
So the guy got picked up for terroristic threats and election interference.
That was the charges.
Those were the charges.
And that was from the Philadelphia FBI?
No, Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so when my FBI agent called me one day, and he said, have you taken extra precautions around your house? And of course, very unnerving. Yes, I have. And we went over what I had done and what my husband had done. And he said, do you own a firearm? And I said, yes, I do. I said, I bought that on my first stalker. And he said, he kind of laughed, and he goes, you're not serious. And I said, I am very serious. And I said, this is not the first political time I have been threatened. And he said, how many stalkers do you have? And I said, 3 to be exact, but one just died of a heart attack a couple weeks ago. I just learned this. And these ones were local. But I told him that was when I bought a firearm the first time, and Mill Creek police, they had to call me to tell me that I had a guy who threatened my life. Wow. Right here. That was years ago on the school board when I was elected.
Okay.
And so this isn't something new, but my FBI agent.
But to get that worked up over a school board issue.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the gentleman who passed away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this back to 2024. What time of year did they actually make the arrest?
He called me in September, and
before the November election.
Yeah, right when I started.
Yeah.
Right when I started, and I believe it was October when he was arrested.
So that's pretty quick.
They
when you
did.
think
They
about
moved quick, and he reassured me. He said, "I can't give you the details, but you don't have to worry about your third stalker." And so I found out through the U.S. attorney then, because they had a liaison who became my person, and he was picked up, charged, and our first interaction was his indictment was a Zoom call, and they just, I just had my face blackened out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was then that I decided I was not going anonymous to this guy. I was going to shout this from the rooftop, because I can be the one to make the difference by setting an example. And the U.S. Attorney's Office, they weren't big happy about that. But I said, I need to do this. It's a risk that I will take. And even in the trial, the sentencing hearing, the press release that went out around the country, and it was it was national news, but nobody ever used my name. I contacted the reporters that were in the courtroom. I contacted them and told them it was me.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, was there a trial? Was there?
Well, he at first pled not guilty.
Okay.
And I said,
and again, where is this happening?
Well, he was in Philadelphia. I was here.
So they went to federal court in Philly? Or
no, they were going to bring it to Erie, and I'm not sure why it changed, but it was in Pittsburgh.
So they brought it to federal court in Pittsburgh. Okay.
And initially, he pled not guilty, and I'm like, I don't know how he's getting out of this. I mean, unless somebody hijacked his phone, I told the FBI agent the same thing I told the DA here. I never met a smart criminal yet.
Right.
So he pled not guilty. And we had all the preliminary hearings set, and there was delay. And I was getting antsy. And then Charlie Kirk was shot. And that day...
So this is roll forward to 2025.
Mm-hmm. So that day, I emailed my court liaison, and I said, you need to do something about this. I said, real people are really dying from political hate. And I said, when is this guy going to be the guy that a trigger goes off and he's after me? They did give him he's not allowed to come around me or call me, or I can't call it a protection from abuse, but he has a permanent restraining order against me. But people violate those, as we know. So I called them and I said, I can't take it anymore. I mean, I can't. I'm looking over my shoulder everywhere I go, and I'm thinking, when is it my turn? That day was particularly bad for me. And they went to the judge and they said that. And so they went and they were going to set a trial date, and he ended up changing his plea to guilty.
Okay. So he pled in front of the judge.
Yep.
And what was the aftermath? What was the sentence?
The sentence, I actually did not go to court. I was going to, but it was early in the morning, and I didn't want anyone taking off work to go with me.
Yeah.
So I said, can you just please read my victim statement? And they said, yes, we will do that. So the court liaison called me afterwards, and it seemed like forever waiting for that phone call. And she said that was the longest sentencing that she had sat through in a long time on something that was so cut and dry. And she said it was my victim statement that did it. She said everybody that was part of that hearing, the FBI agent, the judge, my attorney, the opposing counsel, they all talked about my victim statement. Wow. And the judge said initially she was going to give a slap on the wrist. And that's what my husband's like. He's just going to get it because, he's never done it. It's the first time offense. And I asked as part of that, I said, I have been in prison, in my own prison, since that happened. And I think it's fair that he has to serve at least the amount of time that I've served. And I went into, this is, it's real stuff. It's happening every day. And all this hate talk, you have to take it serious. You have to. I mean, we see too much just horrible things happening over political hate.
So he was sentenced to...
He was sentenced. He got 10 months in federal prison. Wow. He has supervision for a year after that outside of prison.
Like an ankle bracelet kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he got a $5,000 fine. Mm-hmm. And he's 63 years old, and he's not going to vote.
Wow.
And isn't that what it was all about in the beginning? Is voting.
Yeah, I read something in the documents, that his defense attorney was saying a minute and a half of indiscretion shouldn't ruin his life, but look at how it impacted your life.
Totally. And like I say, I was at a vulnerable point anyway because I was coming off of a double lung transplant and I was physically and emotionally weak from what I went through. But like I say, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. And it has changed everything about how I do things. And I do it with much more grace. I'm not that attack dog that I once was. Because, again, who knows if I didn't do that to other people in my past just by being, quick off the cuff to criticize.
Donna Reese is with us here. What do you want the lesson to be learned from this? Again, here we are on the microphones. This is a podcast. What can people learn from your experience and from your perpetrator's experience, really?
Yeah. He called himself a keyboard warrior. I know a lot of keyboard warriors. People that are really tough on that keyboard, that if I knocked on their door and said, let's have a conversation, they would not be able to. They'd clam right up. So he blamed it on, he said he drank a bottle of wine and took some sedatives. So, he just blamed it on everything but what was really there. The man is full of hate. And I just, I told somebody, I wanted him to do time because I wanted him to feel like I felt. But at the same time, I pray for him. Because there's something lacking in his life to have that much hate for a person he doesn't even know, based on an ideology difference. And that's all it is. He thinks different than I do. And he has such a deep-seated hate for me because of that. And I don't know. I when I talk to people and, tell them, because of course I am very political, and I tell people, if you disagree with me, just please give me the opportunity to have a conversation with you, because we might both learn something from it, and we might both walk away happier. And I truly mean that with everything in me. That's not there's nothing fake about that. Because, life's too short to be that hateful and angry. And if you think that you can talk to a stranger that way and not identify that you've got something more going on, then you got to take a deeper look.
There's got to be a way that I could totally disagree with somebody's politics.
Yes.
But love them as a child of God.
Absolutely. That is my entire purpose right now. My entire purpose.
Love them as our neighbor.
Love them as our neighbor. Yep.
I mean,
yep.
That's basic humanity. That's what has driven our civilization for 2,000 years.
It totally is. And, I I don't know how, other than to reach out like I did to you. I did to other media or sources, because I was able to give this message to people outside of Pennsylvania that were interested in this story. But unfortunately, nobody in Erie talked about it. I take that back. The Go Erie did a story on it, and he followed right from the beginning, not realizing when it said Western Pennsylvania, he didn't realize that that person was right here in Erie. And I went to him and said, it's me. So thank you to Go Erie for, telling a bit about it. But it needs to be talked about. And I don't know how you can talk about it when our media is the one who is resistant to it.
Mm-hmm. As we go into the fall, and again, you're an active political candidate, how do you think this is going to impact how you campaign? Or, I mean, again, campaigning is all about creating, of educating people on the stark differences between candidates, correct? Right.
And we do have stark differences, my opponent and I, because he and I used to be very much alike, and we were very good friends, and we aren't friends anymore because of our personalities and our positions politically we differ, and we can't come to common ground on it, and that's not me. I can come to common ground with anybody as long as we can have a conversation. I mean, I understand much about why people feel the way they do. They think different than I do. They vote different than I do. But all in all, I think we all have the same basis, that we want what is best for our families and our futures. While that the road to getting there might be different, we all want the same thing. And so I just think that if we travel that road hand in hand and try and work together and combine our efforts, that everybody benefits. Everybody does, not an us versus them.
I'm going to leave it there. Donna Reese, thank you for sharing your story.
You are very welcome.
I appreciate it very, very much.
Yes, and thank you for having me.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.